In this video, we're going to be discussing multiplying and dividing integers. So the first thing that we're going to do before we start talking about using integers is we're actually just going to talk about some basic multiplying rules. So let's solve these problems. So we're just going to multiply like normal. So 6 times 7 would just be 42. 4 times 10, well 4 times 10 is 40. And then 12 times 5 would be 60. So those are just basic multiplication problems. Now we're going to think of multiplication as repeated addition for this activity. So if I do 4 times 2, I could really write that out as 3 added together 2 times. So 3 plus 3, which really gives me a solution of 6, because 3 plus 3 would be 6. Now if I look at the next one, I know 4 times 8, well I know 4 times 8 is going to be 32, but how could I write that out as repeated addition? Well, I could write it out 4 added together 8 times. And some of you may be asking, well, isn't there an easier way to do that? Of course there's an easier way to do that. I could actually rewrite this problem as 8 times 4. And if I did it that way, I would write it out as 8 added together 4 times. And what allows me to do that is the commutative property of multiplication. The commutative property of multiplication allows me to flip around the order of multiplication as long as I keep the same numbers. It only works for multiplication and technically addition, but for right now we're just going to work with multiplication. Now I want you to take that skill that we just figured out and we're going to apply it with a negative number. So if I think about this negative 5 times 6, well, that means I have to write out negative 5 times. And I'm going to add it together. So I have negative 5. And the important thing for this is you want to make sure you're keeping that negative 5 in parentheses so that we keep that negative stuck with the 5. Because if not, it's just going to be floating with that addition symbol, and there's just too much going on there. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I need one more. And in order to find this solution, if I owe somebody $5, and then I owe them another $5, and I owe them another $5, and $5, and $5, and $5, I'm eventually going to end up owing them, which would be negative $30, because I don't have anything positive there. Same thing with the next one. If I do negative 7, I'm going to write it out 2 times and add it together. And that means I owe someone $7 and I owe someone another $7. So I end up with a solution of negative $14. Now here's a challenging one. 6 times negative 4. Now I can't write 6 out negative 4 times. That just doesn't make any sense. But what I could do is I could use the commutative property of multiplication. I could rewrite this as negative 4 times 6. And I can use my same rules from above. Negative 4 plus negative 4. And I can write that out and add it together 6 times. So some of you may be already starting to see what is happening. 3, 4, 5, 6. But if not, we have these silly stories down at the bottom to help you discover the rules. So a married couple, and these are all examples of different married couples. An optimistic person. I love life. Life is great. Life is grand. Meets another very optimistic person. I love life too. Butterflies and the birds are everything, and everything's just so beautiful. Do you think their relationship might work out? Could it be a very positive relationship? Probably, because they're both going to be happy and excited about life together. Now imagine an extraordinary negative couple. I hate life. So the first person, I hate life. Life is no good. I hate everything. I don't like popcorn, especially with mine's always burnt every time I watch a movie, and I don't like even the movie that's on TV. They meet another negative person. I don't like life either. Let's complain about it together. I also don't like my burnt popcorn. I don't like what's on TV, but I don't want to change the channel. So though they may complain about virtually everything, couldn't their relationship still work out? Could it still be positive for them since they see the world in the same way? And that could be very true. So if they're both negative together, they're still going to have a very positive relationship because they can sit on the couch and talk about movies that they don't like and eat burnt popcorn together and be happy together. Now, imagine that you have an extraordinary positive person. Life is great, life is grand, I love movies, I love popcorn. Meets a negative person. I hate life. I don't like my burnt popcorn. I don't like the movies that are on TV. Do you think their relationship is going to work? Probably not, because they come from two very different sides of perspectives. So we can use that and those three silly stories to kind of help us with our integers. So if I have a positive integer multiplied or divided by another positive integer, I'm going to have a positive result. Same thing is true if I have a negative integer multiplied, divided, or by another negative integer, I'm still going to have a positive result because they'll still have a positive relationship even though they complain about everything together. Now the problem that we have is if we have a positive person and they come together with a very negative person, that's when things are not going to work out and we're going to have a negative result. So I just gave you one way that you can think about integers. Now let's go down onto our next page, and here's some examples of multiplying and dividing integers. So if I have a positive times a positive, you can see that positive 7 times positive 2 will give me a positive 14. Positive 1 times positive 3 will give me a positive 3. So all my solutions in this section are going to be positive. Now if I have a negative times a negative, negative 3 times negative 3 is a positive 9. Negative 6 divided by a negative 2 is a positive 3. So this is also going to be positive. Now here's where we start to run into the problems. If we have a positive times a negative, this is going to end up in a negative result because the relationship will not work out. If I have a positive person and a negative person together, they're going to have a negative relationship. And then the same thing if I have a negative and a positive. And you can look at the examples in all of these if you need some help remembering what the rules are. And I want to point out that, remember, these rules are only for multiplying and dividing. When we get further on down the line, these rules don't apply. These rules work specifically for multiplying and dividing. So now let me give you round 2 of another way you can help remember integer rules for multiplying and dividing. You can use the triangle to help you. So if you just draw a basic triangle, you don't even have to cut it if you don't want to. You put a positive in the upper part and negatives on the bottom. Positive people are very happy, they float to the top, and negatives kind of stay down on the bottom. That's how you can remember where the positive and negative go. And the way we use this triangle, and you can use your fingers to cover the pieces, I'm just going to use stars. So if I look at this first example, I have a negative 4 times a negative 4. So if you cover both of those with your fingers on your notes packet, I'm left with a positive. So my solution to this is going to be a positive solution. And then I just think, well, what is 4 times 3? 4 times 3 is 12. So my solution for this would be a positive 12. Okay. So now I'm going to erase this. That's why it's easier if you guys use your fingers as you're doing the video. If I have a negative 25 divided by a positive 5, my solution is going to be left to be negative. That's the only thing that's left uncovered. So my solution is negative, and then 25 divided by 5 is going to be 5. Okay. If I look at the next one, I have a negative 16 divided by a positive 4. Come on. So I have a negative 16. You can redraw your triangle if you need to. Mine's not cooperating. I have a negative 16 divided by a positive 4. So I'm left with a negative, and 16 divided by 4 is 4. Negative 4 multiplied by negative 4 gives me a positive, and 4 times 4 is 16. Now the question some of you might be having is, oh no, what do I do when there's a whole bunch of them in line? Well, we're going to use the order of operations. PEMDAS, GEMDAS, you might know it. So we're going to start with our first two. 5 times negative 10. Well, a positive times a negative is going to give me a negative solution. The relationship won't work. That's negative 50 times 3. And then whenever I look at that, that's a negative times a positive again. The relationship won't work. And 50 times 3 is 150. So it's negative 150. And then the same thing for division. If I have negative 18 divided by 3, the relationship won't work out with a negative and a positive, so it's going to be negative, and then 18 divided by 3 is 6. And then if I solve 6 divided by negative 2, well, in that case, a negative divided by a negative, their relationship does work, and I get a positive 3 for that guy. So what I want for you to do is on the next page, I want you to do the first column here. You can save this column for practice at home. I want you doing this first column. I want you to try to go from the top to the bottom. When you're ready, you can unpause the video and check your work. All right, and here are your solutions. So number 1 is 24, number 3 is 15, number 5 is negative 12, number 7 is negative 8, number 9 is negative 30, number 11 is negative 4, number 13 is negative 4, 15 is negative 1, and 17 is 2. If you have any questions, make sure you go and see your teacher.